Custom keyboards have improved significantly in 2024, release after release, video after video. The keyboards keep getting better with new features and innovation on integrating these new features. Now this is the Fox 65, and why did I do such a dramatic intro to this video? We'll find out later. So for now, let's do a quick run through of the board. So CosFox and Macero came together to create the Fox 65, and what we have is pretty unique. I mean, we don't see sliders very often, and the unique feature about this board is probably its slider. So let's start with its accessories. What we have is pretty standard stuff: cable, keycap and switch puller, screw-in stabilizers, USB dongle, Bluetooth battery, daughter board, and screwdrivers. So the board itself is a 65% with the slider on our right hand side. The overall finish on our aluminum case is done pretty well. The one I have is in polar blue. The overall design is very smooth and curved. We have very soft edges and very round corners. In terms of looks, it definitely stands out among other boards. Now, the board is held together by a few screws on the top, which I don't really agree with this design choice, but that's where I'll talk about it later on. So in terms of components, let's start with its PCB. We have 5-pin sockets equipped with Kailh hot swap sockets and south-facing per key RGB. They have options for wired connection or triple mode connection. The one I have is in triple mode connection, and our switch is located below our caps lock key. By default, we have a FR4 plate, we have a standard foam kit as well, PE, plate, PCB, and case foam. As for mounting, we have the silicone bean mount. Now let's start on its assembly. We have to install our Bluetooth battery in its compartment. Afterwards, we need to move on to our weight. This is the stainless steel option, and you can choose between different options, but this is where you would install your daughter board. And yes, it does have a magnetic daughter board connection, which will connect to our PCB. So I'll be using all the foam provided with our default FR4 plate for the build. They also sent over their White Fox V2 switches, a 5-pin linear switch. I don't think I've tried these before, so I'm not too sure how they would sound. Afterwards, you would have to plug in the slider through a cable to our PCB, and we can finish the build with some keycaps. I went with the Osume Winterglow keycaps since, Christmas is coming and the blue of the board matches the keycaps really well. So this is the Fox 65, and here's how it sounds. I was surprised by how this keyboard sounds. I honestly expected the usual foamy keyboard sound, but even though I used all the foam, including PE foam, it sounds very light. And I found out that is because of our bottom case having these ridges. These ridges scatters the sound across the board, creating a more light and soft sounding keyboard. They did provide me with a palm plate as well. You can add on either a palm plate or a PC plate, so here's how it sounds. Now that you know what this keyboard has to offer, let's talk about its price and what my opinion of it is. It starts at $169 for the cheapest configuration. And $169, I personally feel that it isn't really justifiable. The main selling points or the highlights of the board is probably the exterior of the board. If you like smooth edges and round corners on your keyboard, you don't like that rectangular shape to your board, then this board is something you can consider if you really like how the keyboard looks, especially with the slider. I feel like the slider plus how it looks are the two main unique selling points about this keyboard. But in terms of everything else, I feel like it could be refined a little more. Firstly, the whole assembly process feels a little redundant. Throughout the year of 2024, I've reviewed countless boards with new features, and the assembly process has always been extremely streamlined. The need to install a daughter board, especially with a magnetic daughter board connector, feels really out of place. And at this price point, I feel like our sliders should be pogo pin connected instead of a cable. Purely just off the daughter board, the Bluetooth battery and the slider connection, I feel like it isn't very optimal, especially if beginners would want to get into the hobby. Secondly is the case. I feel like the main purpose of a magnetic daughterboard connection is for ease of access, which means quick. You know, this assembly should be really fast because you have a magnetic daughterboard connection. You don't have to worry about cables, you don't have to worry about accidentally breaking or pulling something. So having screws on our case just doesn't really make sense to me. It feels like the ball catch system should be implemented and should go hand in hand with a magnetic daughterboard connection. So without the ball catch system, the magnetic daughterboard connector here feels a little pointless to me. So at $169, they should definitely improve and refine it a little more. Especially in our current keyboard market, if you compare this board to any other board that we have reviewed the past month or so, it's a pretty tough comparison. Overall, the looks of it and the slider does make it stand out and make it a pretty unique board. So if you're interested, do check it out. The slider can be changed out into macro keys as well if you're interested in that. I'll have it linked down below. But aside from that, thank you so much to CosFox for sending over this keyboard. Let me know your thoughts on this video. Comment your thoughts on the keyboard as well. Maybe we have different thoughts, or do you think I portrayed my opinions pretty well? But aside from that, like this video if you enjoyed this video, subscribe if you enjoyed my content, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!